Hi there, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Soul Call with Kelly B. I'm your host, Kelly Butchert, and it's an absolute honour and pleasure, as it always is, to be speaking to all of you today. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm joined by a beautiful guest, a really, really special soul that I have recently connected with online. And there's just been such a beautiful, flowing heart to heart connection. And so I've invited Jewel on today to have a conversation with me and to speak into your hearts. So whether you're joining us on YouTube and you can see us in full Technicolor, or whether you're listening, I can tell you, you are going to be in for a treat today. Jewel, it's so wonderful to have you on today to spend some time with me and my audience here. Welcome to my podcast. And I
Thank
would like
you.
you to introduce yourself before we go into this wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it was such a divine meeting that we had, and our hearts just connected instantly. So, this is a conversation I'm really looking forward to, too. And so, I am Jewel, and I'm a spiritual mentor for leaders and visionaries in business and in industry who are really, really invested in creating legacy, in stepping into bigger conversations, in heart leadership in their work, whether it's in an organization or in business. I truly believe that heart leadership is it's essential for the thriving of our next generation future, for ourselves here now as well, and the ripple effect that our heart leadership has capacity to have for future generations is beyond what we could ever really imagine. And I've been steeped in the heart realm, the heart space for a very long time, and developed the heart keys method. I've developed an inner somatic modality, and really have brought together the aspects of my life that I have discovered are tuned to my own signature, which are the wisdom of nature, the elemental wisdom of Mother Nature, and how we can tune ourselves to the rhythm of Mother Nature and her wisdom. And as we tune our own bodies to that, we're calibrating our heart frequency in a way that sustains us and supports us for this heart leadership work that we're here to do. So there's so much I could say, and that is what feels to come through right now.
How beautiful. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm probably going to say beautiful a lot through this conversation because
Okay.
it's just going to be really beautiful and really magical. Already, I know that the audience will be, those of them that are familiar with me and my work will be understanding already the heart resonance that I have with you because you're very much talking about the heart leadership, heart service. And this is the way forward, right, for this age that we are co-creating. Yeah. And very much what I speak about too is, the old paradigm was of the head, the patriarchal systems and structures that were in place on this planet have served their time. Yeah, and not that I really see the matriarchy rising, but it's the human heart is evolving in order to bring this planet back into unity consciousness. So I very much talk about Christ consciousness. I didn't even know what that was, by the way, in 2012 when that came to me in a beautiful guided visualization. And we'll maybe talk about your take on those kinds of things that, get bandied about these words like Christ consciousness and things like that, Jill, because I'd love to hear your perspective. But really, what we're talking about here is raising the consciousness of the planet so it can be better than what we've ever known and leave that legacy of love for, our children, their children, and the generations that are to come. So we've got a big job to do, and I really want to honour you for stepping in to be that leader to others, to be that guide, that mentor, that facilitator. But I guess it's not come just overnight. I guess you've not just woken up one day and thought, that's what I'm going to do from today. There's always a story and there's always a journey. And I would love, love, love to hear what has been, and I know this will be hard to summarize, what has been the journey for you, Jewel, to get to this incredible place of being who you are and how you show up in service today? What have been those
Mm.
pivotal moments? What's been the biggest lessons that has helped you to grow and evolve in the way that you now show up?
Mm. Mm. It is such a big question. And as it relates to this divine consciousness, Christ consciousness, source consciousness, however a person wants to name that, it really began with a moment in time when I received the news that my sister would die. She was diagnosed with a fatal diagnosis, and it took 10 years actually. But the moment I received the news, I was standing in front of the Georgia Strait on Vancouver Island, which is a beautiful body of water, and I was standing in a phone booth. And as soon as she told me, I saw myself in this phone booth, like boxed in, and my body went into absolute shock. And I opened the door of the phone booth and I looked out, and all I saw, as if for the very first time, was the diamond sparkles on the water, just covering the entire surface of the water in front of me. And it was this instant connection with God, the divine. I refer to it as the divine. And there was just this instant connection where I knew that it would be okay. And then, subsequent to that, that really opened me, like that cracked me open, essentially. And that was the beginning of my personal development journey, of my journey whereby, as she and I lived our lives through these 10 years, she would say things to me like, you better get conscious because you get to live and I don't. And she was doing it with such adamance and tenacity and conviction. And I couldn't help but just, like open to receive these really profound messages from her. And then, of course, the journey of over the course of 10 years and watching her deteriorate. And then, the moment she took her last breath, I was privileged enough to be holding her hand. And I felt this electricity literally just spark through my entire body. And so, I mean, that was the precipitator for me opening my heart to the universal heartbeat. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't really understand what the one heart really meant. And this is why the heart code activation, because I needed to live through life and will continue to live through life to keep learning, keep expanding, keep evolving my understanding of the one heart, of this universal heartbeat that beats in the trees and the mountains and the waters and the non-physical of my sister and those who've passed, and the physical of my body, like the heart organ, and the heartbeat of this conversation, and the heartbeat of it all. And so, and then of course, subsequent to that, her leaving, there were years of continuation of tuning back into my heart, coming back to heart over and over and over again through some very difficult times, watching a member of my family self-destruct, and, fight with addiction and depression, like all of the things of life that we as humans go through. This is what this human, I traveled. This is the journey I've traveled. And it's just been such a profoundly challenging, heartbreaking journey while being a heart opening journey. And so the polarities have been at play all the way through. And it's just, it has brought me closer to the divine, closer to the universal heart, closer to nature. And I have continued to be a light capturer. And I have thousands of photos every time I'm out in nature. Whenever light, like right now, I have these. My husband gave these to me yesterday just because. And it's like the way that the light hits nature. When I encounter, there we go. When I encounter that really specific way that light hits Mother Nature, I recognize myself, and I recognize nature as being a true reflection of my beauty and a true reflection of my beating heart. And so there's this harmony and there's this synchronization between us as nature and our true nature. And this is what I've come to discover as a result of and as the greatest gift that has come through the adversity. And I've come to understand very clearly how chaos and loss and pain and challenge is the absolute raw material for the birthing of new creations. And so this body of work, the way in which I serve, the way in which I create is this new creation that just keeps evolving, because as we know, it's energy, and energy has no it's not static, and so it just continues to move when and as we allow it to, in
How
service of what we're here to do.
beautiful reflection. So much richness in what you've just
So
shared,
much richness.
and so much that we could unpick layer by layer. And, even you describing how you received that information, that call from your sister to say that she'd had the most devastating news. But then, I had this beautiful picture of you almost. I have an oracle deck, and one of the cards is dancing in duality. So, you've
Yeah.
had the most devastating news, but at the same time, only moments later, you're being shown the light that's also very present in the world, and almost seeing that with fresh eyes. And I truly believe that, breakthroughs, breaking open the heart is the way through to the light that we all hold within us. And it may feel like these tower moments in our life where there is chaos, as you've said, and everything is falling apart. It's meant to, it's been divinely orchestrated that way so that you can have an opportunity to look at the world and look at your life and look at yourself with fresh eyes. And isn't death such an incredible initiation? For me, it's the greatest initiation when you're so close to someone who is on that journey, knowing the certainty of death is coming soon. And I'm pleased to hear that you had 10 years, and I hope there was so much joy in those 10 years that you had with your sister, and, so much that she has shared with you about enjoying every moment, make every moment count. What would you say to your sister, Jewel, now that you are where you are and she is where she is on her journey in the unseen, as we talk about these unseen realms? what would you say to her right now about what you've accomplished and how far you've journeyed?
Well, I would say thank you. Absolutely. I just feel so much gratitude for, for her and for her chosen journey.
Mhm.
And I remember her telling me when, I don't know, maybe she was 5 years in or so, we were in my little house on the ocean on Vancouver Island, and I lived in a little community. And she said to me, "You're bigger than this. You're not going to stay here." And I remember saying to her, "What do you mean? Like, this is God's country. This is heaven here, of course." And I remember her saying, "No, there's something more. There's something bigger for you." And there came a moment in time afterwards where we were called to relocate and move. And she said, "You're going to move." And I recall thinking to myself, wow, she told me that I would move, and here we are. And the every time that we, and I say we, I speak about my husband and I and our two children, and we have made moves in life that have been divinely designed, divinely led. And each time we have moved, there has been so much growth as a result of the daunting nature of moving and stepping forward without knowing what you're going to find, essentially. And it really, really facilitated my deepening trust in the unknown
Mhm.
because of the being propelled to move, and like literally physically move, but as a reflection of what was moving inside and upgrading and calling me forth. And I would tell her that one of the greatest lessons that she left me with three really important messages, and they've always come up. They've circulated in my field for this whole journey so far. And one of them was very simply trust the process. And those three words are so much more powerful than people can conceive, and have carried me. And how far I've come has most definitely been as a result of this contributing piece of wisdom that she left. And it's almost like she planted these seeds. Well, she did, because words do that. Words of power like this were planted, and I began to learn what trusting the process actually truly meant. And it has been in large part a very significant piece of where I am today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I have so much that I want to ask here, Jill. One of the things, now, those of you that are watching on YouTube will see the play of light. Before I pressed record, Jill, I noted that there was a beautiful orb of light that went up past your shoulder. There was one during this call, but also the way that the light's coming in through your blind, it's like you've got beautiful, like, you know how the elders would paint their bodies
Oh,
during
yeah.
ceremonies? It's almost like the light's coming in and painting your body with light. And there's one right at your third eye and coming up through your throat. So
Huh.
I just wanted to acknowledge that. And
Mm,
for those of you that
no.
can't see, that's why I'm describing this, because I want everybody that's tuning in, even with just audio, you're getting the full picture of what's happening here, because I truly believe, Jill, that communication happens on not just a verbal level, but as we move forward and we raise our level of conscious awareness, we're becoming more aware of the unseen realms. We're becoming more aware of not just the power of our words, but energies held. Energy's everything. So communication comes through light and it comes through
Mm.
feeling and our thoughts. And, we can go to any point in time and heal any point in time. And communication's the same. So, I hear spirit and I converse with spirit and I talk to my higher self and listen more importantly to my higher self than I talk. And it's just making me really, really think about the exciting direction that our work is going. I think there are more people consciously aware now of the magic that's, I call it realer than a real thing, that's in us and around us. And we're becoming more and more activated through the heart space in order to realize that we have all this potential within us, all this untapped potential that's held deep within our DNA. Now, I'm just going to pause on that point there and just reverse back to prior to you doing this work. Because again, this has been part of the journey. We don't just know this. We don't just wake up one day and just know this. I certainly didn't. I led very much I've always had connection with spirit, and knew that there was more to life than just what we were seeing in the seen realms. But I've had a huge journey of learning and experience and remembrance, coming back to
Mhm.
remembering who I am. And that's still a journey that I am on, and I hope I'll be on it forevermore. If we could just go back to what was your life like before you had this pivotal moment, this change? And maybe it was more than just one pivotal moment, one awakening. Maybe there's been several. Did you lead quite a 3D life before? Because I really feel this year there is going to be a huge awakening on our planet, more than we've ever seen. And I know that there are going to be leaders out there, visionaries out there, who are going to be deepening into their own self-discovery, the deeper truths of who they are. And I truly believe that many of us have signed up as way showers to be ready to facilitate that and hold that space for women to, you know, show them the way back to themselves. But we've had to do that journey ourselves first to get there. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, because I get asked about this a lot. People will say to me, but how do you know this stuff? How do you know this? You're magical. You're amazing. I'm like, no, you are. You just don't know it yet. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. People used to look at me and think, oh, she very much leads a 3D life she works in education and kind of know what that is. That's something tangible. What was your life like before? And what was, more of that journey like for you, Jill?
Before that, I was fairly unconscious in
Hmm.
terms of um, there was a way that I was disconnected
Hmm.
with the divine. I hadn't, I grew up in a home where my father was atheist. My mother was not. There was this discord. I was confused. And then as a teenager, I tried things on. I went to Buddhist temples. I chanted. I went on a pilgrimage. And so there was the part of me that knew. And then there was the part of me that had learned to become disconnected. And I was having a lot of fun, which is great. And I was reaching for ways to numb the pain of having grown up in a fairly volatile space.
Mhm.
And yet, like, this is so interesting because I do these life mapping sessions with people, and as a result of having done one with myself, but there are these sort of threads through my life, through anyone's life, that as you stitch them through, you find the red thread of your magic. And as a result of finding my own, it's easy to help someone else find their own. But as I was looking at the red threads for me, sound and wind always connected me to the divine without me necessarily knowing that that's what was happening. Sound and wind were, these were my red threads. These were like my signature DNA imprinted connections that I had with the divine while living in 3D, while numbing out, while riding the unconscious train, while rushing and chasing and, having so much fun at the expense of my own um, spiritual development, but I wasn't ready for it yet at the time.
Yeah.
And it took this incident for me to become ready for it, which is such a wonderful gift. And as I recall back to my life before then, in terms of 3D behavior, I would rush a lot. I would interrupt a lot. I wanted to be right. I was popular and I was really so, I felt validated by the external people in my life, and that I thought was enough. And so I sought that. Um, and I have so much compassion for her, and I feel and I give myself so much grace and forgiveness for things and things that I could otherwise um, feel bad about, blame myself about, all of that. And this part of this evolutionary spiritual development journey has been moving through these spaces of grace, forgiveness, compassion, and it's like it's been an unfurling. And interesting that that word is coming through because wind has been such a big part of my life as a sailor, and it's my relationship to it, that the element of air and of breath has brought me back into presence with what truly matters. But we don't understand what truly matters until we understand what we're doing and how we're being in a way that doesn't align, that aligns with what doesn't matter,
Yeah.
what's not important, what's not meaningful. And so these discoveries really can only come, and the wisdom, like you said, right? People ask you, how do you know this stuff? And the wisdom comes through discovering the knowing within, like on a visceral, on a cellular, in a body level. And this is, part of this work is accessing this cellular wisdom and healing in a way that is very organic, in harmony with the rhythm of Mother Nature, without chasing
Yeah.
or trying to fix, or because there's truly nothing wrong. There is
Yeah.
truly nothing wrong. There is just so much right. And when I discovered that I was making the most right parts of me wrong, was a very, that was a really big turning point on my journey as well.
Mhm.
Mm,
Amazing. And I think, coming back to a really important point, many of us have lived our lives in that way, filling our lives with lots of busyness, lots of stuff, lots of exciting things, especially when we're younger. And it is part of growing up as well. But I see such a shift in the younger generation, and I feel so much hope because they just seem to have
yeah.
wisdom that I never felt I had an awareness of at such a young age. I look at my own two daughters and I think, gosh, them and their friends, they're so wise and so sensible. And I guess we've been the way showers for that generation. We've been the let's disrupt the status quo, let's shake things up a bit. So I suppose we have co-created some chaos in order to disrupt what has been the frequency on the planet for such a long time. And I love that you're um, looking back with compassion and grace and forgiveness because I've done that too. And it's such an important thing to do to honor that that's been such a huge part of the journey and a necessary part of the journey. It's almost like you've earned the stripes to get yourself to where you are now, and no longer looking at the external world. And I would say that that is something that I do think is very difficult for the younger generation now with the technological age that, has just exploded and always looking for the external validation of who they are. And this is why it's so important that we have heart leadership available on the planet to support that transition from rather than looking at the holographic matrix out here, let's come inwards and all the validation, all the wisdom and all the remembrance is right here through the portal of the heart. It's about spiraling in order um, to really elevate your life. And I just really want to thank you for going back, and I know that you're giving us an overview, but I think it's really important that, people tuning in find that relatable part of us, because this has been a lot of work, hasn't it, Jill? You and I both know this has been a journey of journeys. And I certainly see in the client work that I do that so many of us have signed up to really master a lot in this life, to experience a lot. And so many of us are experiencing lifetimes of lessons in this life. We're cramming a lot in. And now moving into this place of what I call, the divine mother frequency, coming home to the heart and surrendering to deeper trust and being rather than rushing around and busy, it's be with yourself. You spoke about the breath, the sacred breath. I don't know if you're familiar with gene keys, but gene keys is a big part of the work I do.
Mhm.
And one of my soul gifts is the gentle wind. And so I really relate. I'm also an air sign. I'm a Libran. My son's in Libra. And so also in my Oracle deck, because it's really been evolved through my personal journey, one of my cards is the gentle wind. And so I love how you're reflecting on the elements here because we are the elements. We live upon this. I call her this goddess. She's a living, sentient, breathing being that we have the honor to have a lived experience here in symbiosis with her. And it only takes for us to really pause, take a sacred pause, drop into your heart space through that breath and consciously connect with your breath and consciously connect into your heart space. I would love, Jewel, from your perspective, to talk about that journey from the head into the heart and why it's so important, and how you maybe work with clients and help them to get into the heart, and how that
Mhm.
really shifts everything in our life.
Everything, everything in a split second. Even if it's a glimpse of a split second at first,
Mhm.
there's that experience, that remembrance, that return to innocence. And this is why at the beginning of our conversation, I said my free gift is actually going to be the heart code activation. I must have known that this was the trajectory of our conversation, but this, the way that I lead people from their head to their heart is through the way in which we communicate through words is very telling about which filter we're using to communicate with life. And if we're using the filter of the head and, that through the lens of illusion, through the lens of past belief systems, through the lens of attachment, through the lens of what the head has learned, has been conditioned to believe, versus through the lens of the heart, it's an art. And so we start with communication, we start with words. And so oftentimes, and so there's this activation, which are words of power that literally streamed through on the heels of my father's death. And it was so powerful. It just filled my body and it reopened my heart, brought me into my natural state where I remembered that I could still communicate with him, but through the heart language. And so the activation is kind of the entry point, but it's done in a way that these are activating words of power that divinely have streamed through me. And so when people are in the company or in the vicinity with headphones on listening to an activation like this, there is something that occurs where there's something that stirs within the heart, because these words of power are directly aligned with truth, the highest frequency of all, through the expression of love. And so hearing words of power and the tone and the energy inside of the words of power spark something in someone. So that is one way, is through these kinds of activations. And when you're not engaged in this kind of an activation, or you're not sitting and listening to this kind of activation, there's just so much power in the simplicity of intention, of placing your hand on your heart and deciding to drop the focus. So the internal gaze from what's going on in the head, and dropping the internal gaze to the actual heartbeat, because it's a physical orientation point that people can come to. So by putting the hand on the heart and even pressing the heart gives the mind a job to do and gives it a direction. And the simple pressure of even pressing on your heart takes your gaze from thinking about something else to the sensation here, and then the sensation of the heartbeat, that is infinitely beating all the time, all day long. We've been given this extraordinary gift of this heartbeat that pumps blood and sustains our lives. And in that moment, dropping into thank you, gratitude as the gateway to the heart. It truly, in my opinion is the most powerful field of creation and field of heart connection is in gratitude. So it's really simple. And the mind thinks it's too simple to actually do anything. But if you truly choose in a moment to drop out of your head, drop your internal gaze into this heart space, into the heartbeat, into the sensation of the hand touching the heart, then this begins to happen. You see, like there's just movement. Like my body is just like automatically organic, moving like the leaves in the wind in sync with the true nature of what's here. Because these words of power, they counter the illusion, the words of untruths that we're running in the subconscious all day long as a result of the conditioning and what we've tuned in, the beliefs that we've tuned into in our previous lives. It's like it recalibrates, it counters these words of power, counters the illusion. And one of the things that happens, and this is what I am so passionate about around this new paradigm of healing that is so organic, where what we've learned to do is we've learned to release all these beliefs and these limiting beliefs. We've gone to energy sessions. We've received release rituals, and we've done them, and we've released, and we've experienced these cathartic releases of energy, but we haven't learned to replace what we release. And this heart language healing technology that I started with creating for myself, of course, because it was me who needed it. And, it evolved from there. But this cultivation of a higher frequency, pristine, refined heart communication with ourselves is not something that we've learned. Is something that we are now here to learn. And as we unlearn the conditioning, we can release. But if we don't replace the illusion with the truth, and I'm not talking about just words, I'm talking about the energetics, the frequency, how your body expands from the contracted illusion to the expanded truth. Your cells will literally expand. And if we don't do that, then we have temporary relief for a day, maybe an hour, maybe, until the next trigger comes along in life, and we're right back to where we were, unless we train ourselves to replace what we release with a very conscious heart communication system and skill. This is a skill that I am so passionate about teaching and leading people through. And people who come into my world will start, whether it's a group or a private environment, we start with conversation. And oftentimes there will be one word in their sentence, and it might be try. I was trying to, and I'll just zone in very lovingly and say, like, let's see about replacing the energy of trying that lives inside this communication right now. Can you feel the density of trying versus opening your heart to allow? And suddenly they're opening their heart and they allow themselves to receive. And suddenly the trying energy that came through dialogue drops out of their vocabulary. And as a result, their heart continues to expand. And so it's a progressive art of relearning how to cultivate heart communication within ourselves, which translates to, I've seen marriages that have been about to break up, not break up. I've seen conflict in workplaces, in partnerships that have been on the brink of blowing up. And with these simple shifts, and not so simple, that the relationship dynamics have completely transformed.
Wow. So the simplicity of the methods, the language, the reframing,
Mm-hmm.
heal and transform complex issues.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the simplicity is probably what makes it most effective as well, because life should be simple. And I think we often overcomplicate things. And I think we've gone, you know, when we talk about leadership and we think of leaders in the world right now, it's very intellectualized. It's very, the world of academia, for example, we overcomplicate things. And just hearing you speak about a very complex thing, Jill, in such simple terms that makes it so relatable, to talk about the pathway of the heart and the power of the heart, which is just these simple techniques and methods that you are, I mean, you've talked about how you saved marriages, helped people save their marriage through these powerful but simple techniques, brought people home to themselves. How wonderful is that? It's just life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have developed your own method, I believe. Yeah. Could you
Mm-hmm.
share a little bit more about that?
Sure. I originally called it the heart language healing technology because the foundation of it is a technology, and I am calling it the heart keys method now because inside of this technology there are heart keys that unlock this connection with heart and therefore the communication that occurs internally and therefore the communication that occurs externally. And it is all based on the truth that words are power, they are energy, they are living, breathing entities that carry so much power inside of them. And so the heart key, for instance, of gratitude is so incredibly expansive and generative that you can, when you engage with the heart key of gratitude, and this is what we do, is we actually pull through certain heart keys that we work with, or that yes, we work with them. We invite them into our field for a period of 2 weeks at a time in my elemental program. And so if gratitude is the heart key that we are encountering, I'll say, then it is, by virtue of being a living, breathing entity, present in our field. And so we begin to express gratitude for the heartbeat. We begin to express gratitude for the light, for this. It's such a beautiful sunny day here. You can tell. All of the things that we begin to express gratitude for compound, and because it's a generative energy inside of this field, all of these words, these heart keys, have generative energy. We discover and become present to more things to be grateful for. And so now all of a sudden, the gratitude key is expanding and expanding and expanding. And by virtue of it bringing us into the frequency that is aligned with the divinity, God, source, we become open vessels for receiving all that we desire. Like, it's just, we become able to vibrate at a frequency that is more refined and that rises us above the lower, denser frequencies of trying, of pushing, chasing, like all of those things. And so these heart keys, there are 44 of them. And I'm actually in the midst of creating a digital deck of these heart key cards, which will turn into printed decks that'll become available. And each and every one of them was created by me, hand drawn. I drew them during a time of conflict and pain. And I sat with the process I was going through, and I tuned into the heart key that would support me through to my next level of healing, of growth, of developing. And so as these heart keys came to me, they dropped in, I would draw. And what I drew, I had no idea I could draw like that, firstly. And it felt like it wasn't even me drawing, and it was the divine pouring through. And these handmade cards hold a lot of potency as a result, because they have been created through love and through the keys. The keys, like, these are heart keys, are heart qualities that we hold within ourselves, that have the capacity to unlock so much wisdom, so much clarity, so much creativity, so much connection, so much capacity for healing, self-love, bliss, ecstasy, joy, fulfillment. I mean, it's just this is the modality that I'm calling it the heart keys method. Um, and I'm building it out as we speak as a modality, so that people can come in and learn the tools and learn the skills of conscious heart communication. There are, skills, there are steps that a person moves through to grow into the next level of learning. And so this modality, I'm very excited about bringing into the world this year as a formal modality that people can learn to bring into their practices, into their work, into providing higher level transformation for their clients, into their companies as leaders, into their leadership teams, into their yoga studios, into whatever expression that they're bringing to the world through the lens of the heart keys, as they learn to engage with them and therefore embody these qualities. Because you become gratitude. You're not just doing gratitude over here, you become it. And so you begin to embody gratitude in your body. You begin to embody presence and calmness in your body, and the anxiety goes away, and the stress starts to go away, and the triggers that were once triggers disappear, and you say, I didn't get triggered by that thing. Wow, I slept all night last night. Wow. So embodiment is such a foundational piece of this cellular embodiment. So these heart qualities in your cells, and your cells go from closed and contracted because they closed and contracted during these crystallizing moments in life of trauma of some sort, to whatever, and to any degree. And the cells reopen and begin to communicate with each other, which is a huge, it contributes to health in the body, of course. So, physical symptoms disappear. It's pretty miraculous that we can learn to do this through language. And as you said at the very beginning of this call, we receive information in so many different ways. And so the language of the light, the language of the wind, the language of the intuition, the sensory language, and the imaginal language, and the realms, the heart language, all live within, and it becomes this internal somatic experience, which is why the inner somatics holds all of this.
Oh, I've been using so much restraint listening to you, Jill, because it's so beautiful to hear all of this. But I just want to keep shouting, yes, yes, yes. You are just speaking my language. It's so beautiful to hear
Thank
so
you.
much of what I believe and what I um, truly know in my heart to be true. And so there are many, many parallels here. I can't even begin to tell you the divine synchronicities.
I'm
And
not surprised at all.
so you've spoken a lot about attuning to the heartbeat. You've spoken a lot about heart activations. Again, these are two cards in my oracle deck. And you're
Okay.
developing your own oracle deck, and I wish you so much love and luck with
Thank
that.
you.
You've spoken about the importance of embodying these frequencies. Yeah, so they're not just words and they're not just things that we're striving for, we're being them. One of my cards is embody and integrate. So I just love this. And you spoke about number 44 and 44 oracle cards. The 44 in Gene Keys is Synarchy. And Synarchy is that beautiful frequency of the one heart. So touching
Mm,
that one heart, we are one unified beating heart. Separation is an illusion. And so working in symbiosis with nature and synarchy is that place that we want to get to where we're dissolving the hierarchical structures that have been, allowed an opportunity, and there probably will still be elements of hierarchy on the planet and in organizations that are, built on those kind of structures. But synarchy is a higher frequency. So when you're talking about heart keys, I'm not just thinking about keys that you turn, but also like piano keys. We're going
mm,
into this higher octave, higher frequencies of love. So it's like when you think about piano keys that we're going up an octave. We're taking that higher octave of love, taking it out there to see that there's a higher way of being, of existing in this planet where we unify through the heart space. And just like bees, I've spoken to you before, and a bee appears on my heart activation oracle card because I had an amazing heart activation myself with this queen bee when I was in quiet meditation for 2 hours on a shamanic retreat. And I've later learned that bees, we know how bees work together in the hive, just like humanity, we're all working together to raise this consciousness in the planet. Bees are the only animal on the planet that have 5 chambers in their heart.
mm,
I believe
mm.
working with, nature in all its ways, they have provided the medicine, I believe, from Venus. I believe that Venus is our big sister to Mother Gaia Sophia that we live upon. And they have come in with this higher activated heart. So they're showing us the fifth dimensional way of living. And I truly believe that we are evolving into these incredible luminous beings and that we are developing an etheric fifth chamber in our heart. And as we up level in consciousness and elevate and expand and break through into more photonic light in our DNA, then we are, and through your language, you talk about the importance of language. We are spelling out, we're spell casting out powerful frequencies, and we're structuring our waters, we're coding our waters, the mitochondria, the fascia in our body, and water holds memory, of course, and Vida Austin has taken up the mantle now where Dr. Masaru Emoto, we know this now. This is scientifically proven that we are structuring and coding the waters of our body, and again, the flowing waters of the Divine Mother, and allowing that heart to spiral open this fifth chamber. It's just, there's so much beauty in what you do and how you've woven it together. And, you
Mhm.
spoke about the red thread, and oh, I could go into all of that with you as well. I could keep you here for hours, Jill. I
I'm
just,
sure we'll have more conversations
I'm
in the
sure we will.
future.
Sure we will.
Uh,
I really want to honor you so, so much because I know how crowded the coaching space is. There's a lot of people coaching now, but I don't see a lot of people coaching in the way that you do, in the way I do. It's much deeper than what is kind of mainstream.
mhm,
And I would love to see the corporate world really taking that leap and really, let's come out of the head and let's get right down into the heart. That's how we are going to change this planet for the better, to have heart consciousness and love everywhere. And you can see where people get triggered. We all get triggered with things. I mean, when I worked in education, I had parents who would get very triggered if I said the word love. Like, how dare I say I loved their child? You're not, you're not their parent. It would really trigger some parents, not all of them, but I would love to get to a place on this planet where we're not triggered by the word love,
mhm,
that
mhm,
we are grateful that we have people in service who are loving all beings. And
mhm.
surely that's what has caused us to fall in humanity. And we'll not get into those conversations, the falls of previous civilizations and everything today, but I really want to honor you, Jill, for being, I talk about courage and cœur being the French word for the heart. Yeah. Having the courage to really honor your journey and acknowledging the big part that your sisters had to play in that, and the initiation that portal that it provided you to step much more deeply into living a much more purposeful, meaningful, fulfilled life,
Yeah.
and to be there for others, to show them the way. And you speak about these beautiful frequencies of love. I work with 144 divine frequencies of love, which was introduced to me by a previous teacher. And I love how you've simplified that into 44, and to work with those through your programs. There will be such a deepening for people to step into that work. So thank you. Thank you for the
Thank
service
you.
that you're providing. It's just so beautiful. And it's just incredible to me to know that um, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm on my own. I know that there are many beautiful souls out there doing incredible work, but it's been quite isolating at times to talk in a different way, to show up in a different way when there's not many people around me working in the same way. Can you relate to that in any way, Jill? Has
Mhm.
this sometimes been a bit of a struggle for you, or has it been lonely at times for you, or has it all just been exciting and expansive and there's been no doubts?
All of the above. It's all of the above because and what I've come to realize is that I don't need for others to speak my language, to understand, to receive what I have to give. And that has been really liberating because the struggle came from wanting everybody to get it. Like, don't you get it? And really understanding that everyone is at whatever juncture they are at in their journey, and embracing them with compassion. And, even a family member that isn't open to these kinds of conversations, having realized that I don't need to keep trying to have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And what I've experienced is that those who are meant to be supported by me, those who are meant to journey and co-create with me inside of this work, it's like they hear my heart song, and their heart song is in harmony with mine. The piano keys are harmonized, and there's this beautiful frequency harmonic that it's like ding. They hear me.
Mm-hmm.
And those that don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been times where I have felt like, oh, am I on the right track? And questioned, because this is not the mainstream. It's not. And yet have always returned to this place right here. Have always returned to this place right here. And now I don't wander anymore, because I know it will never leave me. And this is my heart song.
Beautiful.
This is it. So and those who come into my vicinity are such, oh, I have so much love and reverence and respect, and I love what I do. And watching someone who you mentioned, people in corporate, who has been so ingrained for so long. I was in corporate, I understand, and who is opening to this because they have been looking and being on a personal development journey of some sort, and still find themselves in the same place. Watching these people bloom is just indescribable, and not just corporate. I mean, but like entrepreneurs, people who've retired early and don't still, have everything,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have this.
Yeah.
And watching these people reconnect and come back to heart, there is nothing that I would rather be doing with my life, in
Amazing.
my life. I'm
Amazing.
here, and my sister is really proud of me. And
Yeah.
she's always communicating with me. I can feel her, you know. Yeah.
Right, amazing. Just beautiful. Now, there are several ways that people can get in touch with you, Jill, but before we talk about where people can find you, I would love for you to just share. You've written a book, I believe. Would you
Mhm.
like to share a little bit about your book?
Yeah, my book is, I have a copy of it here. Ah, there it is. It is called True Gifts: Ignite Your Soul Magic and Monetize the Highest Expression of Your Purpose. And I wrote this book in 2021. I'm working on my second book currently. And it is such a little treasure trove of all of these things that I'm talking about and it's written in sort of like a workshop form in a way. So there are self-guided inquiry questions and journaling prompts and spaces throughout the chapters that give people an opportunity to truly, discover their true gifts, reignite with their true gifts, discover their deeper purpose, plug back into their deeper purpose because it's gotten lost, travel through the confusion cycle that that is caused by all of the head thinking and the cycling around in the old stories, dropping into the heart, accessing the genius. And the last chapter is actually on building legacy, because at the end of the day, that is such a powerful place to be looking. And especially as a leader, there is a legacy creation here waiting for our full attention. So yes, I have a free PDF of the book that I have always given to people. It's also available in print. But yeah, true gifts, true
Yeah,
gift. Yes.
amazing. So where can people find, I'm going to drop your links down below the show, Jewel, but where can people find you if they would like to find out more about the work you do, the services you provide?
I am on social media. I am on Facebook, Jewel Veitch. I am on Instagram, jewel.veitch. I'm on LinkedIn, Jewel Veitch. And I have a free Facebook group, Legacy Creators Collective. If anyone would like to tune in there, there's a lot of free trainings in there and resources and talks and just a lot of treasures in there. And my website is jewelveitch.com. And the heart code activation, that is a gift I would love to leave this audience with, is on my website. It can be accessed on my website, and I will also share the link with you to add it to the notes here if anyone would like to tune into that. And I am always open for an email. So all my contact information is on my website, jewelveitch.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jewel. It's
Thank
so nice
you.
of you to share everything that you've shared here today, and also as a bonus, your heart activation. So we'll definitely get the link attached to the show notes here as well. Now, before we go, I would love to pull a card for you.
Okay.
My Oracle deck called Oracle deck is available now on Amazon.
I
So
love that you've created a deck. Congratulations.
now, before I pull a card, I must ask, you have the most beautiful name. And I love how you use it, your branding on social media with the little crown and the
Thank
double. So
you.
beautiful. So, Jewel, where did that name come from?
My original name is Julie.
Ah,
And several years ago, about 4 years ago or so, I was decorating the Christmas tree with toned ornaments, and the way that the light hit one of the ornaments was it was such a beautiful jewel. And those who know me, many who know me, have called me Jewel, Jules, Julie. And it just something stirred in me as I experienced the light hit this jewel toned ornament, and I saw jewel, like I saw the letters. I receive auditorily. I received jewel. It dropped into my body with the different spelling, and I thought about it for a couple of days and realized that this was my next stretch, was to grow into the frequency of jewel, the diamond within, that everyone has these jewels within themselves, that we're here to polish and sparkle and refine and clear the path for their finest expression. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
yeah, and again, that's just such a beautiful, beautiful reflection and sharing of how you live and lead yourself through your life, recognizing everything, everything having meaning and holding frequency and power and being so conscious about everything that you do and
Yeah.
the energy that you hold and what you transmit. Oh, I just love it, Jill. I just
Thank
love
you. It's a journey, you
It
know,
really is.
it's a
It really.
journey. Thank you.
So I would love to pull a card for you now and share the message. So what's wanting to come through for Jill? Oh, I love this card too. I believe that we've got a full moon in Leo coming up very soon, I think on the 12th of May. So the card that's coming through for you, Jewel, is surrender and release. And we've got the element of fire here.
Yeah.
Let go with loving intention. Let
Yes.
me share with you this message just for you and for everybody tuning in today. This card gently calls you to release all that no longer serves your highest good. Whether it's negative emotions, limiting beliefs, outdated habits, or relationships that have run their course, it's time to let them go with love. By surrendering these burdens, you create space for new growth and transformation to enter your life. Release is not a loss, it is a sacred invitation for renewal. Take a moment to reflect on what you are ready to release. You may choose to write down the things that weigh you down and ceremoniously burn or bury them, watching as the smoke rises or the earth embraces your burdens, symbolizing their release. Alternatively, write a heartfelt letter to yourself or someone else, expressing all that needs to be said, and let the flames or earth carry your words, leaving you feeling lighter and more free. The energy of the full moon is particularly potent for letting go. As you stand beneath its luminous glow, allow yourself to fully surrender to the process. This is a sacred act of self-love, trusting that what you release will create space for new blessings and opportunities to flow into your life. Know that as you let go, you are aligning with your highest self. Release allows the universe to work through you, offering you peace, clarity, and the freedom to embrace new possibilities with an open heart.
Mm.
Go of all that weighs me down. With love I release and wear no crown. Through earth or flame, I find my peace. In this surrender, I feel release. So
How
take that
beautiful.
message with love, Jewel, and to everybody
How
who's tuning in.
beautiful. Thank you so much. It's so amazing to me what comes through in the field, and it's such an appropriate card as I step forward in my leadership, in my heart leadership. I have a big vision for a big movement, and it's scary because it's big. It's so big and such a beautiful calling forth to surrender at the next level. Every single time I step forward, there is an invitation to surrender. And so interestingly, and not no coincidence, that's the surrender heart key has just been part of the winter water elemental season. Um, yeah, next level surrender is just so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Divinely synchronized as always, as we know, Jewel. This is what happens when we do surrender to trust. More,
Yeah,
more comes in, more comes in.
absolutely. Yeah,
This has
thank you.
just been such an amazing call with you today. I knew it would be so beautiful and filled with so many nuggets of truth and wisdom for, those that are tuning in today to tune into, to feel into their own heart. and I know that it will land with people where it's meant to land. So I'm going to invite you to reach out and, connect with Jewel or myself, just where your heart is leading you. Don't ignore the call. Don't ignore the call. Step into that portal of your heart. Jewel, I am sure we will connect again sometime very soon. I want to thank you once more for joining me in conversation and for sharing so generously all that you have shared today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. This has been such a beautiful, rich conversation, and I appreciate you and all who have been listening and will tune in at some point on the journey. So thank you.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Thank you so much for joining us.